Cassandra's heart raced as she stared at the ultrasound screen, her hands trembling. The image in front of her shattered everything she thought she knew about her pet, Reggie. The massive python lay coiled on the exam table, his scales catching the cold light of the clinic. Dr. Hansen, the local vet, stood beside her, his face grave. "I'm afraid I have some unsettling news," he said, his voice steady but heavy. He pointed at the screen. "Reggie's stomach is completely empty. For a python his size, that's not normal." Cassandra's mind spun. "But he hasn't eaten in weeks. I've offered him everything, chicken, rabbit, even his favorite quail. He refused it all." Dr. Hansen hesitated, his eyes flicking to the snake before meeting hers. "Miss Turner, snakes like Reggie are opportunistic hunters. When they stop eating like this, it's sometimes because they're preparing for something bigger, lying beside you every night, stretched out along your body. Some believe that's not affection, it's measurement." The words hit her like a physical blow. She stumbled back, her vision swimming. "No," she whispered, "Reggie would never hurt me. We have a bond. He's my companion." But even as she said it, the memories rushed in, his steady gaze, the way he wrapped around her at night, his slow breathing lulling her to sleep. She had always read it as loyalty. Now it sent a chill straight through her. Cassandra had always been a solitary woman. In the quiet town of Bar Harbor, where everybody knew everybody's business, she was the exception. At 35, she lived alone in a small cottage on the edge of town. The porch light, usually the only one still on past 9. Her only companion was a 12-foot python she'd rescued after his previous owner abandoned him at a roadside exotic pet drop-off. To her, Reggie wasn't just a pet. He was the one presence in her life that never left, never judged, never asked questions she didn't want to answer. Her neighbors didn't see it that way. The whispers started fast. "Why would anyone live with something like that?" they'd murmur. "It's not natural." Cassandra brushed it off. She saw the way Reggie's eyes seemed to focus when she spoke to him, the way he nudged her cheek like he understood her. To her, he was exactly what she needed. But the isolation wore on her. The wary looks, the hushed conversations that stopped when she walked by. She wanted connection, something to fill the silence in her house. So she leaned harder into the one relationship she had. One night, after watching her neighbor leave her dog outside in the cold, Cassandra decided to bring Reggie closer. She let him sleep in her bed, his heavy body coiled around her like a living blanket. At first it felt like comfort, his weight, his warmth. It gave her the deepest sleep she'd had in years. Then something shifted. Reggie stopped eating entirely. He grew restless. His coils felt tighter around her at night, his body somehow larger than before. She told herself she was imagining it, until the morning she found him refusing to leave the bed, staring at her with an intensity that turned her stomach. She brought him back to Dr. Hansen. The ultrasound confirmed what she was afraid to hear. Back home, Cassandra couldn't make sense of it. The gentle creature she loved and the predator Dr. Hansen described didn't fit together in her mind. So she needed proof. That night, she placed a life-size mannequin in her bed and rubbed it with her own scent. Then she hid in the corner of the room and waited, her pulse hammering in her ears. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Reggie moved, slow and deliberate, his tongue flicking at the air, testing, tasting. He drew closer to the shape in the bed, circling once before he struck, coiling around the mannequin, tightening with every loop, muscle stacking on muscle until the plastic groaned under the pressure. The sound of it cracking filled the room. Cassandra pressed a hand over her mouth to keep from crying out. The truth was undeniable now. He hadn't been comforting her all those nights. He'd been rehearsing. It broke her heart, but she knew what she had to do. She called the exotic animal rescue center that had given him to her in the first place. When they arrived, she knelt beside Reggie one last time, running her hand along his scales, whispering goodbye. She watched the truck pull away and felt something hollow open up inside her. He had been her closest companion for years. Letting him go still felt like losing a piece of herself, even knowing it was the only choice that made sense. In the months that followed, Cassandra started volunteering at the same rescue center. That's where she met Cammy, a small chameleon with a personality far bigger than her size. Cammy wasn't quiet or mysterious like Reggie had been. She was bright, curious, constantly changing color like she couldn't help but express herself. Cassandra promised herself she'd do better this time. She researched everything: habitat, temperature, diet, determined not to make the same mistakes twice. But even careful people get caught off guard. One afternoon, Cammy stopped eating and grew sluggish. Panicked, Cassandra rushed her to Dr. Hansen. The diagnosis floored her. Cammy had swallowed small decorative stones from her own terrarium. Cassandra felt sick with guilt. How had she missed something so simple? Dr. Hansen performed a delicate procedure to remove the objects, and against the odds, Cammy pulled through. That scare changed something in Cassandra. She became more attentive, more careful, more present. Her bond with Cammy grew slowly, built on patience instead of mystery. Looking back now, Cassandra understands what she couldn't see before. Reggie had never been cruel. He was simply wild, following instincts older than any bond she tried to build with him. Cammy was different, small, fragile, entirely dependent on her to survive. And somewhere between losing one and saving the other, Cassandra finally understood the difference between an animal that needed her love and one that was never truly hers to keep.